Just hold about 10 seconds.
Yeah. There you go. Now you ready? Thank you. All right, it is 6:33, and I would like to call the Safety Committee meeting to order. I'm Chairperson Jeff Howland. Along with me, I have Committee Member Tom Klitzka, along with all the rest of council. We have Sherry Tice. We have, what's that?
We're down one.
Zach Brooks. I mean, almost all.
And Barry's not here.
Tom Duvall, and we have John here next to me. So with that said, agenda item number one, approval of safety committee meeting notes. Were you able to read them? Did you see any
I
for
have.
changes?
No, I did not see any discrepancy.
right.
They look good.
Welcome a
Solicited
motion.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we approve these minutes.
All right, I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That is approved. And then we have new business in order. Today, we have our safety forces here, going to give us little updates for first half of the year and how things have been going from the standpoint of fire and police in the city so far. So with that said, either one, it doesn't matter what order. Brian, you want to go first or you want
I'll
Kenny to
do
go
it
first? Okay.
I'll jump up here. All right. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kenny Fisher. I'm the acting chief of police for City of Circleville. I know a lot of you want to know what the current state is at the police department with all the stuff going on. I'd like to say we are doing well. Morale is improving, and we're trying to move forward in a progressive manner, and it's the best thing we can do. Staffing levels, currently at the police department, we have 5 vacancies within the police division, 3 of those being administrative, 2 being officers. Once we promote up, that'll be 5 officer positions that were currently vacant. We have dispatches currently fully staffed except for 1 dispatch commander vacancy. Calls for service for the year to date, we have 8,723 calls for service that my officers have ran this year. 184 of those are vehicular accidents. We made 143 arrests and 261 citations for the year to date. That's all I have for you today.
Great.
Short and sweet.
I'm trying to write as
Anything
fast
for
as you're talking. So, so from that, and I just saw we had a recent hire on.
Yeah, we have a new hire as a lateral candidate from Marysville
That was
we
awesome.
just brought in, so
Yes.
it's one more for the team.
So moving right along from that standpoint. So we thank you, Mayor, and Law Director from that standpoint as well. Any questions for our police from Kenny?
Well, I just want to say, I've told Mr. Fisher that I have heard nothing but good things about the leadership that he and the Deputy Chief Fairley have been putting forth. And I think it's really good that you guys stepped up and you've been holding
It's
everything
time for a
together.
change, and we're going to take that change forward.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I said that in public.
Thank you.
I said it in
Appreciate
private,
it.
but I think it's worth saying out loud. So thank you for keeping all the guys in order and, letting them know that there's somebody trying to hold everything together.
Yeah, thank you, Zach. We'll
Mhm.
pass that along.
Yeah, I also would like to just say thank you for your work. And I'd like to ask, how many people do we have, or officers do we have on patrol at a time? Is it 2?
Depends on the shift. The second shift, we have a 2-man minimum currently because we have admin staff that can reach out and help. Second shift is a 3-man minimum, and third is a 2-man minimum currently.
Okay, so is it, when do the shifts run?
3
Is it 4 to 12 or is it 3 to
It's
11?
7 to 3, 3 to 11,
3 to
11
11?
to
So
7.
we have 3 on, 3 to 11?
Yep.
And then 2 on at other times? Did I hear that correctly? Okay,
Yeah,
great.
if we can get up to full staffing, we'll raise those levels, but that's what makes the most sense right now and reduces overtime.
We have a lot of people with this prior conversation saying, we need police to watch watch Court Street and ticket to people who are parking on curbs and things like that. And I know you're
When our
Stretch
officers are running from call to call on second shift,
right.
there's only 3 of them on shift. It's hard to get past just handling calls for service.
Yeah, and I think the average citizen probably doesn't understand that.
Well, on behalf of council, we want to thank you for picking things up and moving things along.
Yeah.
And we want you to thank all of your staff for all they do to protect
Will
the
do.
city. So
Appreciate it.
thank you for that.
Before you go,
Mhm.
though, those 5 vacancies, are they, do you have candidates currently?
We do for one of the administrative positions. I'm going to think about doing some restructuring within the department for the other 2. And all of our officers promoting up from within will fill those vacancies.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See if Brian can go that fast.
I can.
I know you don't need, you
Done.
don't need to.
Brian Thompson, Circleville Fire Chief. Just to catch you up, through the 30th of June, we'd already had 2,331 runs for the year. That puts us on path to do about 60 more than we did last year. We finished last year with 4,605. We've had 1,784 EMS calls and 547 non-EMS. Those are fires, alarm drops, non-injury lift assists and stuff like that. So we've given 444 mutual aid runs, and we've received 37 mutual aid into the city to assist us. 3 Mondays ago, one unit took 30 runs in a 24-hour time frame, and we only had to give one away. We handled all of them but one. But 30 runs in a 24-hour period is, if you hear sirens back to back to back to back to back,
That's what it's like.
that's why. So we're still averaging about 13 calls a day. So it's increased. Our daily volumes increasing a little bit, but overall we are increasing runs and calls for service. Currently, we have a captain's vacancy, and we are looking forward to doing a promotional exam for our 2 qualified lieutenants. And we have 1 vacancy for a firefighter that can be filled once the captain's position is filled. So right now, everything's fixed, nothing's broken. So that's about all I have.
I know we're operating with off of the grant that's helped out from the past. When will things come about for it as well again too?
So
Staffing.
we will be looking toward our grant writer. He will give us the notification when it's time to reapply for the SAFER grant, which, as I've said in the past, we would have to have that housing boom that the area has never seen before to not qualify for it. So I'm pretty positive in the results that we'll get once we reapply. Our ladder truck is still in process of being built. It's been a long time coming, but the last delivery date that I got from Johnson's Emergency was July 26th of 2025. So we'll have that. We're trying to hold the old one together with rubber bands, duct tape, and Flex Seal. So
Good old duct tape.
do the best we can with what we got. So
Gotcha.
yeah, good morale. We just hired 3 people. 2 of them are currently already started as manpower. One was fresh out of the academy, so we're taking a little extra TLC with him to acclimate him to never working a 24-hour schedule in his life. So, but I've got a good core group.
Good.
I'll be at Ohio Fire Chiefs Convention all next week. So Captain Kavanaugh will be in charge in my absence.
Super. Questions from council?
Aye.
Questions from,
Jeff, I don't want to make a question, and I should have raised it when Acting Chief Fisher was up here as well. Just from my perspective, I want to comment on these 2 individuals and the relationship dynamics that they're trying to build across not only our city, but our entire county. Both of them have presented memos of understanding to work with other jurisdictions to aid with help and to have those jurisdictions aid us and help. That's attributed to the relationship dynamic that these 2 men have tried to foster with their departments. And so I think that that's really important to note, because that has not necessarily gone on in the past. So I want to bring that forth, because the entire council is here to understand that not only are they doing the day-to-day functions, but they are also addressing some of the relationship dynamics that needed to be addressed a long time ago with their departments.
yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I know mutual aid has always been a sticking point with council, even back in the early 90s when I was the EMS chief. But as everybody knows, you have to give to get. Yes,
Right.
we give more than we get. But in the instances where we have a large incident in the downtown, it's nice to know that those people have our backs, whether it's backing us up on a scene or taking a call for us while we're tied up. So I came from 2 other departments outside the city before I started, and I wanted to continue that relationship with them. And the only way you have success is, and I think Kenny will agree with me, is having a good staff.
Yeah.
when you have good staff, it makes your job easy. That's pretty much it.
Camaraderie's big. We were there, the mayor and I were there for the pinning for the new hires, I guess.
Mhm.
And it's whatever I should call them.
The
But-
probies.
But yeah, but you can see just the camaraderie and the
Yeah.
morale as well. So
And it's
really
nice to
good
see,
thing.
you know, back when I was 19, I first got into this, you know, in this profession, and man, they look younger and younger every year. You hire a 19 or 20-year-old and you're like, where'd my time go? But, you know, like I said, it starts with my core group, my officers. When I'm absent, they know what I expect and they run it the way I would run it in my absence. So it just helps to have good people.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else? Thank you for your service and the rest of your group as well. On behalf of the city, we appreciate it. Super. All right. Next on the agenda, we have B, an ordinance. If you could read that for me, please, Melissa.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety of the City of Circleville to solicit bids and to enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder after advertisement for the trapping and disposal of nuisance animals within the city and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This ordinance has come on as a request from another member of council. There's only two of us here on the committee, but still there's some things I would like to state about it. I have done some research on this, and it is actually asking for something that is already in place. So we can currently contact our district wildlife offices for nuisance wildlife trappers in the area and additional information. We have a number and address so we can get somebody in from that standpoint. But with this ordinance, the city's being asked to spend $10,000 for that system that's already in place. I can say right now, I'm not for the ordinance as it stands because I've got some extra opportunities with this ordinance. You know, I don't, a lot of, as you read through this, there's several things. A lot of it is just simple things that people do from that. The animals aren't, you know, specifically coming unless there's a reason, where there's pet food outside or there's garbage that's not in the cans appropriately or put out early. I know I have family in Florida and they can't put their cans out because of the bears that will come out. And in this ordinance, every animal that is caught will be killed. So it's tied from that standpoint. So I don't know if you had any comments or anything that you were interested in about the ordinance, Tom?
No, I think going forward right now, I don't want to duplicate services for certain. We don't need to spend any more money than we have to. And if it's out there, I can't see duplicating, for one thing. We do know there are animals out there. I mean, I know when we put out, bird feed, we get all kinds of critters coming through from the forest behind us itself. And it's amazing. I know, one raccoon, very large raccoon, was still able to get up and empty those, respective bird feeders and so on. We don't mind, some of the other critters that come in, squirrels and, rabbits and so on, but raccoons and possum, we've had possum, visit too, along the way. So we have a problem in this community. There's no question. I think the one thing is too that feral cats are, there are a lot of people feeding cats out there. It's a problem. And I guess from a standpoint is that knowing that we'd have to kill these animals.
I'm going to intervene.
Well,
Go ahead.
it wouldn't be the cats. Wouldn't be the cats.
Okay, that's good
Because we have a solution for that. yeah.
There is, I understand, and because of how things are particular, which is good to know, along with, because we've had feral cats forever.
Right.
And
They are a nuisance, I agree.
So that's, duplicated services, probably my concern.
Yeah. So if this were to move forward, I would like to hold this over to possibly work on it. I was blessed by the law director that we could actually get a grant so that if the feral cats are caught, because whether they're in here as a nuisance or not, they're going to be caught in the traps.
Mm-hmm.
There's a grant that would take care of spaying and neutering that so that we could decrease the population of those feral cats. they should stay in the ordinance without a doubt, because whoever we pay, if we duplicate cost, even though it is also known that anybody can trap an animal if they want, if they see it as a nuisance, or they can hire somebody to do it or request somebody to do it. The only thing is, if they trap an animal on their property, they have to either return that animal to that property, or they have to take it and dispose of it and euthanize it, however they would do it. They say in a humanitarian way, and we hope it would be that way, obviously. But you can't just take an animal and you can't just go and release it into the woods, kind of a deal, because there's issues from that standpoint, specifically with raccoons and what they could spread. But there's also, issues about rabid from whatever that nuisance animal might be, whether it be a feral cat, a raccoon, a possum, a groundhog, that kind of thing. So with that said, yes.
I just have a question. Could you clarify what is currently in place? You said we would be
Yeah.
duplicating services?
Yeah, if you just go to the ODNR right here, there's assistance from them. Just contact the offices and they will tell you a trapper in your area for additional information on wildlife control, and they'll take care of it
So
for you.
citizens can contact
Yep.
ODNR. It's
And
not
we could
something
probably
that-
post that so the citizens could do that as well too.
So you're saying if I have a raccoon in my backyard and I contact them, they will send somebody out,
They will tell you of available trappers, which you can call and
which I would pay
come out.
for?
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
Let me give you a little background here. We had people here from Ohio State or Ohio Street or Walnut Street, I don't know which. And they came and said, hey, we've got a whole band of raccoons living in city sewers, and they're killing cats, killing dogs, and scaring my kids. And at that basis, we said, we really don't want to have raccoons in Circleville running loose. And therefore, we said we will set aside $10,000 to be used by a trapper, to be selected by the safety director, who will then, when you call the city of Circleville, the dispatcher, he will then call this trapper or trappers and come and take care of the animal, and the city of Circleville will take care of it. So that's a whole lot different than calling the ODNR and they're giving me somebody's name, which I got to pay for. We're missing the whole point. And there's nothing ever said about feral cats. It is about,
You just mentioned them.
I did, but it had nothing to do with this ordinance.
The reason why the raccoons were
Only
coming.
your committee was that added, Jeff. For 13 months now, we've discussed it without that in there. Now, you've had that ordinance since May 22nd and done nothing with it, and that's fine. You're committee chair, but
You can get louder all you want. We have
the whole
discussed feral
situation.
cats.
That isn't what we wanted to accomplish, and
Yeah.
what you suggested doesn't accomplish it either. If you want to vote no for it, that's fine. We'll tell the people that we don't really have the money to take care of solving the problem with raccoons who are living in our sewers. And that's fine. If that's the choice of your decision, certainly you can do that. It wouldn't be mine.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Sure. Yeah, come up to the microphone, yeah.
Podium, please.
Yeah, and then you get 5 minutes, but that's fine. Whatever you want.
I have
Any-
tried on a number of occasions, contacted numerous people. My name is Janice File. I know Tom. Had a situation with a dog bite he helped me with. Anyway, we have raccoons in our neighborhood. I live downtown on East Main Street. We have a family of 5. We have property owners who don't take care of their property, and therefore they're living there. One fella has an open cellar window, and they also go through his chimney and live in his attic.
Right, that's what
But
they
he's
do. Yeah.
not there very long on a
Yep.
daily basis. I don't know how he lives there with critters living there, but whatever. We also have rental property behind us on Franklin Street that the renters don't put their trash out properly. So that's the biggest cause of our family of coons. Not my trash sitting out. They love my fish ponds.
Right.
I don't have a stray cat, but I do have stray cats coming in and fishing in my ponds. So I deal with all of that. I think that this city and the taxes that I pay should have some method of controlling this. And it isn't just the wildlife just coming in because. There's a reason they're coming in. If we cannot clean up our town and make it more respectable, I've lived here since 1985. Never had this problem until the last 4 or 5 years. So that tells me, and the rental properties have increased in my neighborhood. So that tells me there is a problem with the residents and how they are managing their property. The weeds are overgrown in the alleys. Nobody cares anymore about making sure that that's taken care of. If that was in your backyard or your backyard or your backyard or your backyard, you would be raising Cain all over the place. I have tried to mitigate as best I could through all of the avenues that the city has available to me. And at some point, I've worn out. You can only fight City Hall a number of times. The residents don't care, the property owners don't care. The city doesn't have the time to every month, if I were to report it every month, contact and go through the process of notification that they need to mow their yard or that they need to get their trash cleaned up or that they need to this or that. And some of them, unfortunately, seem to have power in this community that I don't understand. Now, they may be very nice people. One of the neighbors absolutely refuses to talk to me because I've tried in my best effort to communicate that if we all worked as a team, his fence could be in a better shape, all the weeds could be gone, but he says he doesn't have to speak to me. So I don't know what you should do.
Well, what I can say is I know exactly what you're talking about because I have feral cats that are in the house right next door to me. So we've had issues before where somebody was trying to
I don't
sell
have
their
feral
house.
cats so much. It's the other wild animals.
I know, but this is all inclusive. Would you like me to thin down the population of feral cats as well? We had a property owner come to city council, couldn't sell their house because of the cats that were being fed next door and the cat urine all over the bushes in the house and all that, and had that
I had a neighbor
difficulty
that
selling the
used to
house.
do
So
that.
if we can add what we found here with the grant, then we can not only reduce the nuisance population of raccoons
I don't have any
and all
trouble with
that,
you including.
but also cats as well.
I don't have any trouble with you including. What I have a problem with is that calling ODNR is not the solution because they don't have the time or the energy to deal with everything.
Well, you're right. They just give you a name of a trapper.
And I'm not paying
There
for
you go.
somebody.
And we have a local trapper here in town. They could easily give you his name and he could come out and do it. So
But at my cost,
right now,
at my cost.
that's what I'm trying to fix with this ordinance.
And not that I object to paying you, but the city should be paying you.
But let's clarify, Jeff, if you get your ordinance and your grant, that'll take care of cats. That won't take care of raccoons on Ohio Street, will it?
Yeah, it's included. It'll take care of them too. Yeah,
Is that
it's
accurate?
everything you want, Tom. Everything you want.
May I have a legal opinion on that?
I have specific list of grants. The grants that I have are relative to community cats. I mean, I guess someone can explore grant potential for those other types of nuisance animals. The issue with the cats was obviously raised over what procedures need to be done with regards to cats, which would essentially be trapping, neutering, tagging, and releasing.
And I totally support trap, neuter, release, okay? TNR, totally support that. But that's different than raccoons chasing kids across the front yard out of the city sewers. And I'm saying I totally support doing anything you want to with the cats, but I see no reason not to move forward on the nuisance animals.
Well, we can move forward with this ordinance if you feel like it's that necessary to pass it without that part in it.
I would suggest we have two different ordinances. I totally support the cats, but that's not part of this one. So let's move this one forward and start the grants for the cats, that whole process.
Can I give a perspective from my
Sure.
point?
Go ahead, William.
Okay, first off,
Appreciate it.
there is no state definition whatsoever on what a feral cat is. It does not exist in state law. And no nuisance trapper anywhere in the state of Ohio is allowed to legally touch a cat. None.
So what
If I
happens
catch
when a
one,
cat
if I
gets in-
catch one, I have to immediately release it in the same spot, and that's the end of it. it takes a dog warden or somebody through the county, a separate entity to handle it. It is totally illegal. I'd lose my license and actually could be jailed.
Which dog wardens will take care of the feral dogs and dogs are around, but they don't do a thing with cats.
And that's something that has to be dealt with through maybe a separate ordinance to include that. And the reason is, and I spoke with the state directly about this just yesterday, there is no way that any of us can prove that the cat I just caught is wild, or does it belong to the little old lady down the street and it's just a mean cat. Not all feral cats are mean. Not all house cats are nice either. But there's nothing legally that any trapper, nuisance trapper, can do. And the reason this is an issue with citizens as far as raccoons, Barnes Avenue, I just did a job, matter of fact, I got 9 raccoons out of one house. It's breeding season. They move in everywhere. They chew through siding. And for our zip code, my prices aren't quite as high as everybody else, but regardless, the average price for one raccoon removal in our zip code is $650, and it goes up from there. So residents would love to just call me and pay me. I get calls every day, but they simply can't afford it. And my business is my business. And I tell everybody, I don't give a discount to grandma down the street, but I'm not going to raise my price because you're a millionaire up the block either. The job is what it is. And residents simply just can't afford it. The only contact I can have with any kind of companion animal is what they're labeled as, dogs, cats, is if one is killed, hit by a car, something like that, then I can dispose of it from there. But if it's alive, there's not a trapper in the state, not a legal one anyway, that would touch it because it's just highly illegal, and I could end up in jail for it as far as that goes, plus my license, business,
Gotcha.
everything else. So it's not that we don't want to do it, but it's something that would have to be a separate ordinance, and you would have to check through the state to find out who can be included in that ordinance to handle that issue on its own.
And that is the second page
Mhm.
of the policy.
Right, what we would add in.
That lays that out,
to the
including
ordinance,
defining
yeah.
the feral cat would have to specifically.
Right, because-
be defined as a community cat.
Mhm.
Right, because
And
the
then-
city,
And the city would then implement the trap keeper that is permitted to do that. That's why it could be included as long as there's an ordinance and procedure, and those have been provided to the safety chairperson to go over what those would look like to include that within the potential ordinance.
if it is
From my
included,
perspective, just to continue, how long will that take?
Well, again, this is not my project. There's a grant that needs to go through
My
because they
point
have
is,
to have.
we were talking 6 to 12 months to even start showing anything at all. I'm suggesting it's a great thing to do as a separate project. Take all the time you want, get everything done, appropriate it, but let's go ahead and get rid of the raccoons and skunks and groundhogs and possums
yes.
in the south end of Circleville, which happens to be my ward.
And that is fine, Mr. Duvall. I just drafted the ordinance as what was requested.
No,
So
I'm
it
finding
can
no
be,
fault with the Ledyard.
it can be separated out, but there are going to be specific policies and procedures even for the current trapping, because those ordinances are just very generic. They still have to be disposed and trapped of under Ohio Revised Code in the proper manner.
But that
So
would
I
be a
guess.
lot quicker.
I guess then my question is hearing, we have a private business owner today, if it costs $650 to trap
Yeah.
a raccoon,
You said there were,
what's it gonna cost? Is
Yeah.
$10,000 appropriate enough? Because this is an ordinance we're passing. The ordinance will have the dollar amount attached to it.
Just so.
I'm just asking questions
Yeah,
so I
and
can
answering
clarify.
that question, the prices that I have understood are less than a third of that amount for continuous
yeah,
business.
but you can't guarantee that when you farm it out. You don't know
Sure you
that, what
can.
they're gonna
You can
get.
take a quote. That's what we're going to have. Basically, the mayor, as the acting safety director, has appointed Jim to represent her. He's already done some work as far as how do we get that and what's it going to cost. And those are real numbers that would be a contract. So yes, we do know, and he's ready to go, but he's waiting for us to authorize it because he can't do a thing until the council says we want to move forward.
And
I totally support getting feral cats off the streets, totally support it, but that's going to be a long-term project, got to get a grant, yada, 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 yada. We're ready to move forward with this finally This thing was ready to be written in December, and the guy and our safety director quit. Then we reviewed it legally until May, and we're ready to move forward. And now we're saying, well, let's throw cats in the deal. And I'm saying, don't throw cats in the deal. Let's finish this and make a separate authorization for cats.
What's our policy or protocol for nuisance properties?
Well, that's what goes through judicial, and that all is supposed to get cleaned up, and they usually don't clean it up, as our guest was saying.
I was gonna
And,
say, yeah.
It also goes through our zoning office,
Yeah.
and depending on the type of nuisance,
gets-
whether or not the health department is involved in it or
Yeah.
not. But then eventually, once notice is provided, we take all the affirmative steps. Then the final referral would be my office for any
Yeah.
criminal prosecution on top of that.
I was gonna
I'd
say,
like to speak to that because I've just had a perfect example of that.
Well, we're not on that right now. So
Okay.
I appreciate that.
The health department is worthless, and they don't do anything to help us, and therefore
Whoa.
we have trash everywhere.
Wow.
Period.
Okay.
End of story.
And one last thing too, the reason I would like to see the thing separated is because there are, not just myself, there's about 6, I believe, nuisance trappers in Pickaway County in general. So they could get started, whether it be me or whoever, right away. There is no cat person, period. And so if it's going to be on the same ordinance, go through the dispatch, police station and all of that.
Well, that'll be
can't
in
be
the
the same-
directions. That'll be in the directions that are written up between the trappers and the law.
It
director,
can't be the
so
same
that'll be
person
specific.
regardless.
Yeah.
So why put 2 different things in the same ordinance when one person, it's impossible for them to handle it? You just legally can't.
Well, if we got
Totally separate things.
5 raccoons chasing kids down the street, then we'll
And
be out of
it
money
happens.
pretty soon, pretty quick
And-
anyway.
And it happens, and I've dealt with several things where people have been injured personally from these animals.
Yeah.
And it's quite an issue. I probably have caught a good 100 animals throughout the city this year alone.
Yeah, I guess most of those are rabid that are chasing anybody
And-
too. So that's not safe at all either.
So that's the reason things can't be relocated, I should say, is due to all the disease
Right.
and all of that. So something definitely needs done. A lot of damage has been done. The sewer thing is actually not a joke. Barnes Avenue, if you drive down through there, the homeowners have blocked off all the storm drains with logs and whatever
goodness.
they can find
Yeah.
to keep the raccoons from coming out and going after their kids, their pets, getting in their houses. So trash and cleaning up, that is a problem in a lot of areas. They're by the railroad tracks anyway, but not in every case. You've got breeding season, and if they're not taken care of, when those young ones grow up, they go back to the same spot, breed again, and do it all over again. So if they're not taken care of, the problem's just going to get worse. But the cat issue definitely needs handled. I see that's a mess everywhere, but it needs to be a separate thing. So there's no confusion anywhere. If somebody calls the dispatcher to say, hey, I've got that, there's no confusion of sending out the wrong person to do the job. And it just makes a hassle for everybody. Legalities, like I said, there's no feral definition through the state anyway. So there's not a whole lot that can be done other than through some of the programs where they do offer discounts and things for spay and neuter, that kind of thing. They had one, I think, coming up out to a Brook Hill Animal Clinic. It's like a bus that pulls up and they do a discount on it and things like that. But as far as the trappers are concerned, anybody that's licensed and doing it by the books, they're going to refuse it. And
All right.
it's just not worth it.
I appreciate that. So would you like to make a motion?
We have some work to do, sir.
Okay. Well, with that, then I guess we'll move to old business. We don't have any old business, so I'd welcome a motion.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.